Hey everyone, welcome to It Takes a Viking, the official podcast of the Salem State University Alumni Association. My name is Mike Mitchell. I serve as Assistant Director of Alumni Relations at Salem State. I'm also a proud graduate of the class of 2007. Today, we are very excited to welcome a graduate from the class of 2018 and the host of the History Channel's The Curse of Oak Island Drilling Down, Mr. Matty Blake. Matty, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
I'm excited to be here. I'm proud to be a Viking.
Oh man, we're looking forward to talking with you. So first, let's just jump right into it. How's it going? What are you up to?
I'm in Canada right now. I'm filming another new season of the show that I work on. I work on a television show called The Curse of Oak Island. It's on history. It's right now and has been the #1 rated non-scripted show on cable television. It's a true story. It's a reality show about guys hunting for treasure. It's the world's longest running treasure hunt. It's been going on for 225 years.
Wow.
And I can just give you like 10 seconds on it if any Vikings haven't heard of it or watched the show.
Love to.
Basically, somebody, for some reason, on this island in Canada, built a vast underground chambered vault system to hide something. We don't know who, we don't know why they did it, we don't know what they're trying to hide, but people have been trying to find out and figure out what it has been. And the most recent search are these two brothers from Michigan named Rick and Marty Lagina. And the show, The Curse of Oak Island, follows their efforts. This will be season number 8 now of trying to figure out what the heck is buried on this island. And I work on that show. I host a companion show called Drilling Down, in which I interview the brothers and the team. I embed on the island to try and get the dirt on what, additional information. And now I'm doing a spin-off show with the brothers too called Beyond Oak Island, where we investigate. Yeah, that's a great thing for me and for them. And it's just shows the growth of the show. We're going to be talking about treasure hunts around the world, not just Oak Island. So it's pretty exciting times for me. And I'm shooting it now in Canada.
A little bit like your own real life national treasure, right?
Yeah, little Goonies, little national treasure, but all real.
That's terrific. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So before we get into that a little bit farther, let's take a step back. You had what I would imagine would probably be a pretty traditional start to your time at Salem State, maybe not the most traditional ending to it all, as we'll get into a little bit later, but tell me a little bit about how you ended up studying at Salem State. What brought you there?
Two things I would say. Criminal justice. I wanted to be a police officer since the time I was a child, I think, as far back as I can remember anyway. Well, I either want to be Evel Knievel, Celtics player, or a cop. So yeah, the criminal justice program that I found out they had was pretty good from what I heard. And then basketball. I knew they had a great basketball program. I wanted to play basketball in college in Division III. I had it in my mind. I was going to walk on that team, and I ended up doing both those things. I became a criminal justice major and walked on the basketball team and made it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so is there anything, let's look back at that time a little bit. Is there anything there that stands out to you as like one of your real fond memories, or maybe a professor that you really enjoyed from your time there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm old. So we'll get into my whole graduation thing, but I'm a 2018 graduate, which we'll get into, but I left there in 94, 95, I guess 1995, I left Salem. So this is a long time ago, but there was a great professor. He was the head of the department of the criminal justice department at the time, Ed LeClaire.
Okay.
He was wonderful to me and very supportive. And he was very passionate about what type of police officers Salem State was producing, and this is a long time ago. This is before the trials and travails we've had kind of recently.
Sure.
So he was kind of ahead of his time, and he wanted to make sure that we were producing officers who would respect everybody and do the job in a professional manner. And I love that message. I was just all gung ho and wanted to go out there and serve the community and do good and all that. And so he gave me, I got some sort of award. I'm sorry, I don't remember. We had this banquet, and he was just wonderful to me. There was another guy, he was the golf coach, and I didn't play golf, and I can't remember his name. And
George Jacobson?
Yes, Mr. Jacobson,
yep.
Professor. George Jacobson. Thank you. He was a wonderful person.
Yeah.
I remember him and the memories of playing basketball, of course. Making the team was one of the biggest accomplishments of my life up till then. I had no right being on that team. They were pretty stacked back then. And I just, through grit and hard work and determination, was able to get a spot on that team. So I have just so many wonderful memories.
Awesome. Awesome. And so you mentioned that you left the college in 95. What were some of your next moves after that?
So I immediately started pursuing that criminal justice degree. And then I got into kind of the entertainment world, showbiz, circuitously. It wasn't a conscious decision for me at that time. My brother signed me up for an open mic night, a stand-up comedy night. I was interested in comedy and arts and acting, but I never thought of it as a way to make a living until that night when I did that open mic contest and I won it. It was kind of a catch a rising star type of thing. And the next day
Okay.
at work at my state job, working to try and work with high risk youth is what I was doing. And this guy called me and he said, "Would you like to start working for our stand-up comedy company and hosting shows?" So all of a sudden I was getting paid to do stand-up, like right out of the gate, not much, very little,
Yeah.
but boy, and it just exploded from there. And long story short, I left the day job
Yeah.
in Boston and ended up getting signed by a bi-coastal agency in New York City at a big comedy showcase. And that agency is called Buckwald. They have clients like Howard Stern and other big A-list type names. I got signed. I left Boston for New York City in 2002 and
Okay.
then made my living from that day till now in showbiz.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you had to, so let me ask you this, looking back on it now, you've been in the business for 20 plus years.
Mm.
Looking back on it, if you could go back and change anything, would you?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, the deep answer is no, because you're shaped by your experiences, right?
Right.
But I know what you're getting at. And yes, there are things like I would probably be a little easier on myself. You know, I would probably tell myself if I could go back, take it easy on those criminal justice goals. And because they're like failure miracles throughout your life, right? In a way, like you want these things, you pray for these things, or you desire these things and you don't get them. And at the time you think they're a failure. And don't we always look back and go, man, in a way, thank goodness that didn't happen, because if I had got my wish back then,
Yeah.
I'd be a police officer in Boston, or somewhere, which is wonderful, but certainly I don't believe what I was meant to do. So I'd probably just take it a little easier on myself. I would definitely tell myself to run down to the theater department at Salem State and maybe play a little less basketball and
Okay.
get with the theater kids, because
All right.
that's what I was meant to do anyway. So yeah,
Try to develop those chops a little bit along.
absolutely. A little earlier. Yeah.
So you left Salem 95, you went out, you started doing your thing in the entertainment world. Let's rewind just to a couple of years ago. So you're on AAF in Boston.
Yeah.
And this had apparently been cooking behind the scenes for a little while. President Keenan comes down, visits you in the studio right around Christmas time, I think.
Yes.
Acknowledges that you had finished enough credits to complete your degree.
Yes.
Lets you know you're now eligible to graduate. What was that feeling like? What was that like for you when you walked in?
I mean, that was a regret I had in my life. I left Salem with enough credits to have walked and graduated. I was actually Dean's List and had a wonderful career. And then through a series of, had a breakup and, Boston was calling and I just left. And I always regretted that. My mother, who passed, always said, "You should have got that degree. You earned it." And it was always in the back of my mind as a regret. But I was, who has time? I was in New York City doing the thing. So having the radio show was called Matty and Nick. I was always joking. How it started was a joke with my producer, because I actually followed you guys and I followed the alumni association, things like that. And I would see you'd have a speaker or something. So it started as a joke where I would, just for comedic effect, say to my producer on the air, like, "Oh, Salem's having this local business owner. Why have the guy hosting a nationally, a cable show? Why have, and my producer would say, "Because you didn't graduate, dummy. You're not an alumni." So it started like that. And then I think word got back to the president that some guys on the air, having fun with being never graduating from Salem State. So they surprised me on the air. And I actually broke down in tears. I started crying on the air, which I'm embarrassed about in one hand, but on the other hand, it was one of the great moments of my life. And I actually went to graduation and walked.
Yeah. And it's not funny. It was a very sincere video. I enjoyed watching it. And for whatever it's worth, I mean, in my time at the school, that video turned out to be the most viewed thing we've ever put on the internet.
Wow.
So it was really great to see. I mean, the feedback was people were so happy for you. They were so excited to see it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was really great to see. It kind of took off like nothing we'd ever done before. So,
that makes my day. Thank you.
It was really something nice, especially around the holidays, to be able to share a message like that.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a little bit. So now, like I said, you've been in the entertainment game for a little while now. Um, you took a rather non-traditional path to get there, as like going to college for something like that.
Right.
If you had any advice for students who may be either interested in pursuing a career in the business or the arts or something like that, what would you tell them?
I would absolutely encourage them to have a passionate life outside of whatever area of entertainment you're going into. And I think go for any career, but especially it seems like the arts. The people I know who are only into acting or only into hosting or only into comedy, it's all they think about, it's all they do. They can be lovely people, but they tend to be a little one-dimensional, and they tend to live and die with their careers. They're miserable when things are going wrong, and they're overly ecstatic when they're working. Have a life. It also has the added benefit of making you a better artist. You know, the more varied interest, the more of a life I've led, I've got more to say, I've got more to draw on. So find a passion that you love. Don't just say, I'm an actor, or I'm a host, or I'm an entertainment guy, or whatever it is you want to do. Don't just have that be you. Don't be one-dimensional. You know, have a life, have a passionate life, and follow other interests, and it'll make you a better artist.
Okay. And as you've gone through it over the years, do you think that there's ever been a particular challenge or a something that really you struggled with, or even call it a failure if you want, that you look back on in your career that you say, man, I really took a lot from that, and here's how I changed and learned from it?
I mean, so like the batting average of a working actor, Mike, is constant failure. Like I wasn't famous, but I made a heck of a good living as a full-time actor in New York City. Like that's making it,
Mm-hmm.
For most actors that do it or attempt to do it. And yet I'm one of the lucky ones, and pretty much I have about a 80 to 90% failure rate. Everything you're not getting most of what you audition for. So it would be almost impossible for me to pick a thing. I've had a couple big things that looked like they were going to be big, my own show on this platform or that platform, and it didn't end up panning out. But all I've learned from that is that, honestly, that wasn't supposed to be. Let it go. Let go. You're not in control of this thing. This industry, just like life, is a galloping bronco, a wild bronco. And if you try to tame it, if you try to control it, I'm this, I'm that, I'm going to do this, it's going to eat you up and spit you out. At a certain point, you just have to believe there's a role out there for you. There's a part out there for you. There's the right thing at the right time. Throughout all my struggles, I did have a belief, a deep abiding voice that said to me, just hold on, just wait. It's coming. It's coming. And I just kept going. And it's definitely manifested in the job that I'm doing now. This is the job I've been waiting for my whole career in a lot of ways.
It's like it's like you're your own. I mean, with your current work, it's like you're your own kind of Ben Gates from National Treasure, a little bit, going around
Yes.
trying to find the buried stuff.
Yeah. And it's like a family. It's like a perfect use of whatever it is I can do well. It's like a perfect use of that. It's what I've been looking for 25 years. Now, again, along the way, some great successes and some wonderful things and some bad failures, but just to keep going and realize that it will come if you just keep believing.
Yeah. So let's take a step back just for a minute, because I know you had mentioned you were studying criminal justice, working in DYS when you first left the school. If you weren't in the entertainment world, what do you think you'd be doing if you weren't in entertainment?
I don't think I had the stomach for that world, Mike, to be honest. I wanted to help people. That was, I guess, my main motivation, not to sound too altruistic, but I just had this notion of like, I hate bullies. So like, I always wanted to be the guy like showing up at a situation where someone's getting bullied but I didn't have the stomach for it. I don't think I was cut out for it. I think the only job I could really do now is teach and maybe coach. I think that would be a great life for me. Even you now just asking me what I would say to, theater majors, whatever, I get the chills just even talking about it. And there's so much more I want to say to them.
Sure.
So I would love to teach, kids who are interested in doing what I do someday. I have a lot of knowledge from being on sets all these years and practical knowledge. So I think teacher, and then, I know basketball. I'd love to coach a little bit if I could.
Maybe we'll get you in front of a class of theater students whenever you can make it back to campus.
You name the date, I'll be there. I would really love that.
You got a deal.
Because I wish I had someone like me, early in my career. I wish there was someone like me who wasn't famous, super famous in Hollywood and untouchable. Someone who Oh, he went to Salem. He did it. Let me pick his brain and give me the realities of the business. I would love to do that to a group of kids. Yeah.
So as you look back on it now, it was some years since you left from the time you finished the degree and were able to and were able to participate in commencement. I guess, if you've ever seen Inside the Actor's Studio, James Lipton always asks that final question.
Yeah.
For our sake, I think the question I'd like to ask is, what does it mean to now be an alum? What does it mean to be a member of the Salem State community?
It means a lot more than it ever did before, especially the way I did it. It means, I think going to Salem State University, when I was at Salem State College, but Salem State University, it speaks to a level of, and they mentioned this actually at commencement, and I was glad they mentioned it because I wasn't sure if it was appropriate for me to even think that way, but I think it speaks to a level of grittiness. One of the speakers said, most of our kids, this isn't Harvard. And most of the kids here don't have silver spoons in their mouths. They're working. Most of our students are working while they're going to school. And I was moved to tears, so I find it speaks, I'm proud of it. It shows grittiness. It shows a desire to learn, kind of a toughness, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm just proud to be a Viking. I really am. I'm proud of my association with the athletic program and with that criminal justice department. I know that a lot of fine officers have come out of that department. So pride and grittiness, I would say, if I had to sum it up.
I would say the exact same thing.
Awesome, Mike.
So before we wrap up, if any alumni or students are interested in following you, I know you have some social media accounts. Where could they find you on social media?
The Matty Blake, Instagram, and the other ones too. But I mostly use Instagram because the other ones I don't like politics, so I just post pictures of my dog and fun Oak Island things. And by the way, the new season of Oak Island probably is going to come out the first week of November. I would say for any fans, probably around Election Day, maybe the next Tuesday. But season 8's going to be big.
Super.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Matty, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate having you on the podcast. And please stay in touch. And if we can ever help in any way, don't hesitate to reach out.
Same here, Mike. I'm a Viking for life. Anything you guys need, you let me know. And if I'm in the States, I will do it.
Absolutely. And that's been It Takes a Viking featuring Matty Blake from the class of 18. My name is Mike Mitchell, Assistant Director of Alumni Relations. Thanks for listening. We'll hope you tune in again. Take care.